Hi everyone. This video is a book review about a book that I have had in my collection a little under 3 to 6 months. And the title of this book is Spirit Babies: How to Communicate with the Child You're Meant to Have. A renowned clairvoyant medium tells you how to connect with your child before and after conception. And it was written by Walter McKitchen. I decided to search for books about fertility as I just recently decided to get more serious about my fertility journey. I have started collecting more books related to fertility, pregnancy, conception, and all sorts of things, and women's health, not only to help myself, but to help any woman that comes up to me with advice. For advice in relations to how can I get pregnant? What should I take? All sorts of things. I just want to have an arsenal of information. Now I noticed that in my own collection, which was very small, that I only had books that focus on the physical aspects of fertility and health. Some of them were books about herbs that you could take. Others were about acupuncture. Others were just, overall women's health. But I didn't find anything that spoke on the spiritual aspect or focused specifically on the spiritual aspect of fertility. So I decided to go out and research it. I found this wonderful book on Thrift Books and I ordered it. It was sitting on my shelf, but something in me was like, you need to read this book. You really need to read it. So I took the time out to read it, and I think it was a very powerful book. I believe that it could help a lot of people that are trying to either have a child or decide whether or not they want to have a child at all. I looked online to see if I could find anything about the author and how to pronounce his name, because I had been pronouncing it as McKitchen. But apparently, there is a YouTuber who also is an author. She wrote the book, The Energetic Fertility Method, which is a book I am also going to be purchasing in the future. She was mentored by Walter, and she pronounced his name as McKitchen. So it's Walter McKitchen. But the woman that wrote The Energetic Fertility Method was friends with Walter McKitchen, and he helped her to conceive her second child after she had, I guess, utilized all of the options in her arsenal. Before I get into all of the things that I learned while reading this book, I wanted to share a little bit with you about the author, Walter McKitchen. So this is a picture of him, an old picture. And it says, as a teacher and clairvoyant advisor, Walter McKitchen has over 2 decades of experience leading workshops, lecturing, and providing guidance to clients through the Center for Self-Teaching, an organization he founded dedicated to helping people understand the metaphysical and spiritual aspects of their lives. He lives in Washington State with his wife and many wonderful Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, and offers ongoing spiritual counseling to individuals and couples. Now, Walter McKitchen, after I finished reading his book, I went online to see if I could find him and ask him more questions that I had in relation to some of the mantras that he introduced in this book. But unfortunately, Walter McKitchen died in 2011, and this was the only book that he published, which I think was actually pretty good. Everything he needed to say, everything about his life, and all that he used his life for as far as its purpose, this book was enough. this book was enough. It was published in 2005, so it's almost 20 years old. Almost. In like 2 years. But the information in this book is still relevant, even though it has been 20 years. As I was reading the book, I was getting snapshots and images from my own personal life. I have a classmate from high school who I didn't know was struggling with fertility issues until she had a pregnancy announcement. And in the pregnancy announcement, it was like, I guess like some square that had like when the baby was due. And in the board, there were all of these syringes sticking. Like there must have been at least 30, 40, 50 syringes that were sticking in the sign to showcase how much effort and time that her and her spouse had placed into conceiving a child. But not only when I saw those syringes did I see the amount of energy, effort, physical labor, all of that. I also saw the amount of money that she possibly spent. Some people will spend millions of dollars in order to have a baby. But most people spend thousands. It's not cheap to go through that process. But if you are one who has used that amount of money trying to have a baby, you've done acupuncture, you've done all sorts of things, I think the spiritual method could be something that you could try as well. As I go through this book, I'm going to focus on certain chapters. He has some very interesting chapters. They include, and it's 9, it says, A World of Visions and Voices. Should I have a child? Where do babies come from? Why can't we get pregnant? What about abortion? Adoption? Calling to your future child? Conscious conception? And the birth shaman. So I'm just going to skip through the book and focus on little things that stood out to me. And near the end of this video, I'm going to attempt to share with you some of the mantras or some of the chants that you can say in order to call your baby into the earthly plane from the spirit world. So in chapter 1, he talks about being raised in the Catholic Church. And even as a young child, he had the ability to see deities and entities and different things. He could see the angels. He could see the saints. He said, because I was raised as a Catholic, saints and angels were always real to me. I could see them. I just didn't imagine them. I actually saw them. It never occurred to me as a child that this was unusual. I assumed everyone saw angels as clearly as I did. In church on Sundays, when the priest talked about them, I took it for granted that everyone felt their presence in the room. I saw such beings hanging around the church ceiling. Of course, I thought everyone else saw them too. I was amazed when people didn't pay attention during Mass and talked or acted up. I could never understand why they would behave that way with these sacred figures looking down on them. I remember that without any soliciting on my part, other children would often come up to me and whisper in hushed tones that they had momentarily seen the Blessed Virgin. They seemed to know that I wouldn't think they were crazy. People just seemed drawn to tell me all these things. I especially remember classmates telling me if they got a quick glimpse of an angel. What I find interesting is how so many children are still connected to the spiritual realm. I remember one author who I mentioned in the past, Malidoma Patrice Somé. He was talking about in his book of Water and the Spirit how the grandparents and the newborn infant would be placed together, and the grandparent was very responsible for raising the infant, because the world that the grandparent was going to, the infant had just come from. Children don't have the biases that we have, so they don't have the stipulations that we have until it's drilled into their head. So it makes sense that something of higher spiritual nature would appear to them. A lot of them are non-judgmental, and people usually don't believe a child when they say they see something. They just think it's their imagination. I also noticed that a lot of spiritual people that are of a higher nature, a lot of them start off in a religion. I count almost everything as a religion, even spirituality, because you create a doctrine that you follow of your own. You've created your own religion. But I think they go into an organized religion just to get some type of discipline before they venture out into the world of spirit, which is all over the place sometimes. So he goes and talks about how he went off to college, and he said, "My freshman year of college was so difficult, I wondered if I should continue college at all. One day at the end of my freshman year, my Ukrainian grandparents, who had both passed away, appeared to me while I was writing a paper. They told me that everything was going to be all right, and I should continue with school. They also said that they would help me get through the difficult times. From then on, I no longer felt so alone or isolated at college, and my grades improved. My circle of friends began to expand as well." And from this circle of friends and the people that he met, he got accepted into a school that he wanted. Yeah. And from there, he just continued on with his spiritual journey. It started off when he had a horrible kidney stone attack, and he was full of pain medication, but the stone wouldn't pass. Then out of nowhere, one of the graduate English department secretaries came to see him. And she said, "You might not think that this is something you want to do, but I work with a group that does hands-on healing work. When I heard you were sick, I thought you might be open to this." She placed her hands on my stomach, and a warm feeling emanated from them. The golden energy I had seen as a child started to appear, but then quickly disappeared. "I'm sorry," she said. "I guess it didn't work." I told her that it was okay. So as she left, the pain grew worse, and he decided to send that golden light to himself. And as a result, he was cured. His pain was gone. So these little incidents are what led to his journey of spirituality. Now, how he got onto the venture of getting towards spirit babies was an entity came to him and said, "Blessed are those who have not seen and still believe." I said something like, "Yeah, sure." The entity said, "Actually, my real reason for being here is that Christ wants to talk to you." Then the white figure was replaced by a figure all in gold. It had no face. It was just a floating, shimmering, golden energy. I thought to myself, wow, am I supposed to follow the pathway of Jesus? The golden entity said, "Remember as a child when you were on the altar and we told you that wasn't for you? You are going to work with the idea of people finding their own spirituality inside. you will establish a way to teach people about themselves. Now, this is a reference to something that was earlier in the introduction, where he had the thought as a child, he was like an altar boy, that he wanted to possibly be a priest, and something told him that this was not his path. The reason he wanted to be a priest was because there was a priest that he admired, and he could feel the energy and the aura of this priest surrounding him and filling the whole, emanating the entire church. So he thought that since he saw this and that it felt right, that he should also go down this same path that the priest was on. I can kind of relate to that because when I was in high school, there was a pastor who, oh my God, I don't know what type of church it was. I don't know if it was a Church of God in Christ or some type of church. And the pastor told me, you should go to seminary school. And I laughed because even though I was in a very religious school, I had a very religious family, I just didn't feel religious at all. But it wasn't until I was in my junior year or sophomore year of college and had an internship at a seminary in Chicago that I thought to myself, wow, I could do something similar to this. So sometimes in your life, when you're trying to find your purpose and your path, you will see things that are similar to what you should be doing, but it's not what you should be doing. It's just giving you context clues of where to go. And eventually you'll find your path. The golden entity said, you will teach people to heal themselves and to work with their own energy systems. I said, yeah, well, how am I supposed to support myself? My whole life has been directed towards becoming an English professor. The entity said, these thoughts should not even concern you. My last words to you are these. You will help many spirits enter this world, as you have an affinity to work with children. You will help other people become parents, but in this lifetime, you will not have children. You will work with many children instead of having them yourself. Then I felt something grab me by the arms and swirl me around. It seemed as though a circular dance was taking place. I was being pulled around, and everything surrounding me turned golden. Then it all just suddenly ended, and the golden figure was gone. So he did not have any children in this lifetime. But I feel that this book was his creation. This book was his child, in a sense, if that makes any sense. And he helped so many people to have their own families. So his work was done. Essentially, he did have children, but through other people. And in this chapter, in chapter 1, he talks about the chakras. And most of you might know what the chakras are. You might know what the chakras are, how they work. So I won't go into, great detail about them. But what I found interesting in this book was that when he saw the spirit babies, he could see them in the parents' chakras. And the spirit babies sometimes would come in, they would come in the form of like one of their past lives, or the past life they related most to. He could look at the person's aura and he could get information about what was going on. He shared so many stories of his clients that he spoke to that I can't even divulge it in one video. It would take all day. But if you go chapter by chapter, I'm sure there will be a story that stands out to you. Me personally, reading this book, it was somewhat difficult sometimes because I would feel all types of emotions. A lot of the people in this book that he interviewed or spoke to were trying to have children, but they also, most of them had partners. They had a husband, they had a boyfriend, they had a spouse, all that different things. And I think for some people going on a fertility journey and not having a partner or not having someone there, it's even more daunting. That's what I'm going through right now. The pressure that I feel right now from people in my life in regards to my fertility, I could feel it through the people in this book. I could feel the stress that they were feeling. I could feel the pain that they were feeling and the frustration that they were feeling. That's why I had to take breaks from the book, because sometimes it just got to be way too much. I was like, this is getting too real. This is getting too real. And I would put it down and not read it for a day, and I'd have to come back. Me right now, the pressure of having a family has only increased every year I get older. At first, it was something that was in my mind, just my mind only. And people were like, oh, Kiara, you're just doing too much. Like, I would be 25 and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready. People like, oh no, take your time. And, but by the time I was 27, I was like, I'm ready now. Like, what is the holdup? Because I was in a relationship too. So I'm like, what is going on? And people are still saying, oh, you're young and blah, 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 and take your time. And in my heart, I was like, I am ready. So me, emotionally, I've been ready since I was 27. And now I'll be 34 this year. So I don't have any children right now. But right after that, it was just a bunch of people starting to say, well, you're getting up there. You don't want to wait too long, you know. What is the holdup? Just choose somebody, Kiara. You don't want to wait. Like, you might miss your opportunity. You better hurry. You know your child's going to have some type of... Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I know that already? Nobody knows that better than me. So if you don't have an eligible son and you don't have an eligible dating opportunity, don't say anything to me. Because if you're not going to offer a solution or you're not going to offer an eligible son, then there's no point in you talking. So I feel the frustration of the people in this book, because when somebody's going, especially if they're actually trying and they have a partner and stuff, and they're spending all of this money and they're changing all of their diet, I could see them being frustrated. I could see them being depressed and sad and angry because they're looking around and there's just crazy people having children that don't even want children. There's people that are just like not even trying. In one try, they just have a child, and you're just like, what the hell? Like, what is this, a joke? Is this a joke? This is a joke, right? This must be a joke. I understand. They've spent thousands and thousands of dollars. They've changed their whole freaking diet. They've changed their whole lifestyle. So I get your pain. If you're going through all of that, I understand. I sympathize with you. You're not crazy. You have people talking in your ear saying stuff like, oh, don't listen to them. It's okay to want a family. It's okay to not want a family. I just wanted to get that out there for you. Because if you're watching this video, you're probably on your last leg. And you're probably about to have a freaking nervous breakdown. And I'm here to tell you, it's okay. You'll make it through all of this. So chapter 2. Should I have a child? Destiny, choice, and karma. One of the most fascinating and gratifying aspects of my clairvoyant practice has been my work with spirit babies. I discovered my ability to see and converse with spirit babies in an unexpected way. In the first years of my clairvoyant practice, I was in the habit of taking an annual retreat on the north coast of California. I would rent a cabin in a remote location and spend my time hiking, chanting, and meditating. So he ended up going to this cabin, right? And he was about to fall asleep. He was in his bed and he felt this warm presence. And focusing clairvoyantly, I immediately noticed bright green oval hovering just inches in front of my face. When I focus on something clairvoyantly, I shift my perception to the world of spirit and energy forms, a world that is invisible to most people. The energy inside this oval swirled about in an animated fashion, the dominant green at times partially obscured by patterns of gold and purple. The whole oval pulsed rhythmically like a beating human heart. I knew intuitively that the presence was some kind of spirit, but its energy was unlike any I had encountered before. So he talks about how he felt it was like a childlike spirit, because when it's spirits of the dead, there's usually a cold energy. When it's angels, teachers, spirit guides, they have a detached type of energy because they're really not from this realm. And as he was focusing on this oval, this girl's voice said, "You're not my father." And he focused on the spirit. The oval had expanded to twice its original size and was now floating about 2 feet above me. Inside, the oval green energy had formed itself into the figure of a young girl about 7 years old. A cord of gold energy connecting the oval to my 5th chakra, located in the center of my throat, appeared to me to hear the telepathic communication. So he thought she was a lost spirit. And he told her, "I'm not your father," and if she was lost. Because, sometimes you'll read those stories of like, the spirits are like, "Where am I?" And they don't know where they are, and you have to guide them to go to the light, or go over here. But she said, "No, I'm in the right place. I'm supposed to meet my father here." And I asked, or he said, "What's your name?" She said, "I don't have a name yet. My father's name is Frank. He's going to bring my new mother here to meet me. When I'm born, I'll have a name." "Why are you waiting here?" I asked. "This is a joining place. It's easier to pass from our world to yours here." "Are there other spirits like you waiting for their parents in this place?" "Yes, but some have no parents. They need to find a mother and father. So they wait here. This is a joining place." I tried to ask another question, but the spirit stopped me. "I need to go now." And then she dissolved. So what was funny was, what ended up happening was, after he left, a man named Frank and his new wife came to the cabin. So what's interesting is, he talks about that sometimes a spirit will follow you. There were couples in this book where he would interview them, and there would be a spirit attached to one couple but not the other partner. Like it was that particular person's spirit baby that followed them everywhere. And then there was some where it's like they had all these options, and there were all these babies like, "Oh, you could be my parents, you could be my parents." There were some people in here, like one lady in here, she felt pressured by her mother to have a child. Even though her mom had 6 kids, her mother felt that all of them should have a child. and the girl did not have, or the woman did not have a child really in her aura, he could see the child in her past life or children, that she had been a mother to many children, and in this lifetime she wasn't, because she had already been there, done that, and she really didn't want to do it anymore. So he basically gave her permission to not have the children, if that makes any sense. Hold on one second. My computer. 1 second, dears. Okay. So yeah. Sometimes it'll be other people pressuring us to have children when we don't really want them. It's okay to not want a child. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to be a parent. But as I said, she didn't really have a baby in her aura. So, let us see. So, one of the first clients he interviewed was Nancy, a 24-year-old, and she had just graduated from college. She had been accepted to several graduate schools and also had several jobs. She was anxious about her choices and had come for a reading to gain some clarity on which path to take. I could tell from Nancy's chakra system that neither school nor work was going to be very satisfying for her. I expected her to be frustrated when I told her this. Instead, she let out a great sigh of relief. "Thank you," she said. "You're the only one who's seen that. My family's so excited that I got into good schools and have these job offers. I've been afraid to tell anyone that neither option feels right to me. I feel bad about it. These are great opportunities." Nancy's aura reflected her inner conflict and confusion. It was a hodgepodge of colliding colors and jumbled images. I knew I would eventually have to clear away this confusion in order to see what Nancy really wanted to do. So he cleared her chakras, and she asked him, "I want to know if I should have a child." As she spoke, a bright flash of white light filled the right side of her aura. When the light faded, it revealed the large green oval of a baby. I connected telepathically with the spirit and asked why it had come. "I am her first child. I have come to be with her," replied a whispery, quiet voice. "I will be with her now until our time comes. When she is ready, I will be here." And he asked, "Are you meant to incarnate sometime soon?" "It does not matter. I am destined for her. I will wait. I will be here." When I told Nancy about the Spirit's presence and repeated its message, she became excited. "This helps so much," she said. "Whether or not to have children has been a big issue for me. I know what I want to do now. Everything's falling into place." She thanked me and rose to leave. As she left my office, I could still see the bright oval of the spirit baby floating beside her. Nancy's spirit baby, like the spirit in my first encounter, knew its destiny. It was here to be Nancy's first child. Unlike the spirit in the first story, this spirit baby was not going to wait at some special meeting place. It was going to remain with Nancy until she was ready to have a child. This practice of spending time with a prospective parent before conception is quite common in spirit babies. I haven't really done the practices yet, I'm still deciding whether or not I should start it now, or if I need to get a partner first. But I was wondering, if you do the call, because he has a call to call in your spirit baby so you can communicate with it. I wonder if you can actually get the spirit baby to draw the partner to you, like the person that's supposed to be their other parent to you, or the opportunities or circumstances that will bring about a conception. I'm wondering if that's possible. That's just something I wish I could ask the author, but I know he's passed away. In my own life, I only had one person, I guess, bring about potential spirit babies. And we were in a relationship. And what's interesting is that it was two of them, and they appeared to him first, and they appeared to me. And sometimes they would appear in both of our dreams in the same night. But I guess there was a window of opportunity where it was supposed to happen. I don't know. Because he had said there was one vision where it was the two children, and they're just like, will you hurry up? What is taking so long? And around that time, there was somebody from his past that had, died, and they came and they're like, what is going on? So I don't know if it was supposed to be my spirit baby, or if they were just particularly attached to him. I really don't know, because sometimes it will just be that particular individual spirit baby, according to this book. But as I was reading this book, I don't know what I was feeling. Sometimes I would feel some warmth, but it would be over one side of my body. It would be like somebody was behind me, and I would look oh, there's somebody behind me, but nobody would be there. Nobody. So I was like, that's weird. Or I would just feel, it was so weird. I would feel a glow. Then I started having very strange dreams. I also started hearing some type of voice. I know what my voice sounds like in my mind, and when it's something else, I can tell. I can tell it's something else because I won't be thinking about anything, and then whatever message will drop in my head out of nowhere. I might just be eating some food, and it was so one day I was taking a shower, and I swear to God, I heard this voice in my head said, I don't want to live, and it wasn't for me, because I wasn't even thinking about my apartment, but it was I don't want to live here. I can't live here. I can't come here, here. And I'm just okay. Then there was another time I was doing something, and then all of a sudden I was you have to get out of poverty. Who the hell's who? But if it was a spirit baby, that does make a lot of sense. Because if I was a spirit baby, I don't think I would come right now either. I don't. Another thing would be certain herbs would show up. It's certain herbs, certain things to do. You need to rest. It was, or I would hear it in a dream. Or I would feel it strongly. So I don't know if it's just me being more intuitive or if it's an actual spirit baby talking. Let us see. What is the next chapter? He says, in the next chapter and throughout this book, you will find many examples of how the karmic bond between parent and child is formed. As you will see, some relationships are very complex and extend over many lifetimes. A note on the chants and meditations used in this book. As my ability as a clairvoyant and medium opened up, I found that I would hear chants in response to my clients' questions of how to affect change in their lives. Over the years, I have recognized that these chants come from the angelic realm for the specific purpose of helping people to help themselves. They are structured around the principle that the vowel sounds A, E, I, O, U, or is it A, E, A, both, expand, stimulate, or focus the chakras, while the consonants direct and shape their energies. The chants included in this book are the ones I have found to be most effective. I have also created the meditations in this book from my years observing the chakra system. I have carefully studied the effect that certain breathing exercises and techniques have on the energy system, and have put together the ones I have found most useful in my work with spirit babies. And there was a certain chapter in this book where he said you have to do the meditations and the exercises in order. I don't know which chapter it was, but it was later on in this book. So this one right here, it's the rainbow meditation, and it's to clear out your chakra system and aura so that you can find that quiet place inside and decide what you want for your life. And then the next one, which we're going to practice, is calling a spirit baby. Calling a spirit baby is not that difficult. There are many spirits who need to find parents and will respond to an individual or couple's sincere, loving intention to have a child. The following chant is one that I have found most effective for calling spirit babies. It opens up the fourth or heart chakra in the center of the chest and creates an energy of unconditional love and connection. This is an excellent chant for bonding with a spirit baby and can be used by anyone in having a child. So it says, sit next to, and I'm going to get my piano for this. When before I do this thing, I wanted to say I tried to find online the tone of how to say these chants. I could not find it. I looked through some of my books. If you want, you can create your own tunes, or you can go through the sounds of the chakras. Each chakra has a sound. So whatever chakra you want to focus on, you could probably do that sound like a monotone and work your way up. And that's what I'm going to do in this example. There's also one of the chants, one of the words of the chants is CHA, which is cha, but I don't know if it is cha or if it is pronounced like ha, like in Hebrew, if that's how you pronounce it, like that guttural sound. So I'm going to pronounce it ha, if I'm saying it correctly. And I'm going to move up the scale as high as I can go, which I cannot go that high. Let me get my piano ready. I got this keyboard when I was like 11. I'm only going to play one note when it is time. So, I'm going to read the meditation. After I finish, I'll spell out the words for you, or I'll put it on the page. So, sit next to your partner and hold hands. Now, if you don't have a partner, omit this step if you're doing this meditation on your own. It is not necessary to do this meditation with a partner. That's step 1. Step 2, close your eyes, touch your hand to the center of your chest, and bring your focus here. Step 3, take a few moments and listen to your breathing. This is an act of self-acceptance that stimulates the energy of the heart chakra. Step 4, begin to chant. And I'm going to do it in the chord of C. I guess it's C. O na me a sa na ne a. So it's O, ne, oh no, O, na, me, a, sa, na, ha, or cha, o, ne, a. O, na, me, a, sa, na, o, ne, a. O, na, me, a, sa, na, ha, ne, a. O, na, me, a, sa, na, ha, ne, a. But what's so interesting is later on in the book, he says you have to say the whole meditation or the whole chant in one breath. So I guess you say it pretty fast. So we're going to go down to C again, and we'll say it in one breath. So inhale. O na me a sa na o ne a. But if you want to go slow, you can do that too. Step 5. As you chant, try to imagine the sound flowing out of the center of your chest and calling to your spirit baby. Continue the chant for at least 5 minutes. Step 6. Most people will feel a warm glow throughout their body when they connect with their spirit baby. If you are more visually oriented, you may see glowing ovals or different colored lights. Doing this chant regularly creates a stable energetic bridge between yourself and your spirit baby. This chant is most effective when it is done at the same time each day. You can do this chant up to 3 times a day. No, I'm not going to go that high. But if you want to go up the scale, you can. So let's focus on another chapter. Why can't we get pregnant? Why? Two of the most frustrating issues for prospective parents are problems with conception and miscarriage. While doctors have great success in helping couples address these issues, they are limited by their methodology to considering only 2/3 of the conception equation, the physical and mental health of the father and mother, or the mother and father. While this emphasis on the physical mechanics of conception often leads to success, it can also unintentionally place too much responsibility on the woman. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like such a failure is a sentiment I hear repeatedly from my clients. And I think that's another reason why I had a hard time getting through this book, because sometimes I do feel like a failure, me personally, even though I don't have a partner. Sometimes, just genetically speaking, I feel like a failure because I haven't produced a child or have the circumstances where I could produce one. And I have so many people around me. I have one person saying, "You're getting old. You're going to be nothing. You're going to be by yourself. You're going to die alone." Then I have another, "Kiara, just choose somebody. You don't have to be cute. They just have to be yours." And I think it actually got worse after my father died, because I was just like, dang, he didn't even get a chance to meet. If I had a child, he didn't even get a chance to meet a grandchild. And it's also more pressure because I'm an only child. It's not like I have siblings or step siblings. I'm just the only child. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot. If I didn't want a child, it'd probably be less pressure. But since it's something that I want, I think the person putting the most pressure on it is me. And I can understand why these women in here say they feel like failures, because they're spending all of their money. They have all these people talking in their ear, and they're really, really, really trying, but it hasn't worked. So if you're a person that is on their fertility journey and you're frustrated, one piece of advice I would give you is stick to those who are going on the same journey. Like, you might have some people that are outside, that aren't on a fertility journey, that may encourage you, but some people don't want to share because it's sometimes humiliating, and sometimes their encouraging words are actually just very painful. So having somebody who's going on the same journey as you could also be helpful as well. But the spiritual reason: how can they be doing everything right and still not be able to conceive or sustain a pregnancy? I believe the answer can be found by considering the needs and insecurities of the third member of the conception, the spirit of the unborn child. And he talks about a conception contract. The conception contract is an energy bond that appears at the moment of conception. It represents an agreement between a father, mother, and the spirit of the child to be. Each participant commits to playing a particular role in the fulfillment of the other's destiny. Disagreement, misunderstanding, or desire to change these roles can affect the ability to conceive and carry a child to term. Now, some people might not be like a heterosexual couple. They might be like a same-sex couple. So if it's like an egg or like they're using sperm, then maybe he's also talking about the sperm of the donor if it's like a lesbian couple, or the egg of the mother if it's like a gay male couple. So maybe he doesn't mention really that much about donors or anything, but maybe the same goes like if you have a donor egg or if you have a sperm donor, maybe that's also included. This is why I believe that resolving the issues around conception contract is an important consideration in any approach to these problems. Most of the desire to change or clarify the conception contract comes from the spirit baby. Even in the spirit stage of their existence, the unconceived have the desire to communicate and be reassured. The prospect of a new life and a new identity can be quite frightening. If they do not feel listened to or to receive the reassurance they seek, they will often withhold themselves from the conception contract. The doctors that test the timing, intercourse for maximum fertility, and worrying if something is really wrong can leave even the most loving couple tense, distracted, and frustrated. So sometimes the baby will not come because they don't want to come into a particular living environment, kind of like how I'm at now. Sometimes they don't want to come through a particular person. Like there was one person in here, he was with his second wife, and the spirit baby was attached to him. And the spirit baby was like, I want to be a Buddhist. And his former wife didn't like Buddhism at all. She couldn't stand it. So that's why the spirit baby didn't manifest through her, because it was like, I want to be a Buddhist and my potential mother hates Buddhism, but I want to be with this dude. And so him and his wife did have, or, basically a baby. There was another one where the baby wanted to read the Bible. She wanted to study the Bible, and she was afraid she wouldn't be accepted because the grandmother was a Buddhist. And I guess there were fears that she wouldn't be accepted, that she wanted to study the Bible, but the grandmother really didn't care. And so as a result, that barrier was moved. So it's just different barriers for different people. Robin's Lullaby. Robin was 34 and ready to have her first child. She and her husband Dennis had been trying to get pregnant for 18 months and were having no success. As each month passed, their anxiety and frustration mounted. What I want, she said to me, is to try to get some understanding of why this is happening. When I looked into Robin's aura, I could see the small figure of a girl with a withdrawn, sad look. Telepathically, I asked her if she were going to be Robin and Dennis's baby. The girl nodded affirmatively. So I asked her what was wrong. Mommy doesn't sing to me anymore. Tell Mommy to sing to me again. I tried to get more details, but her answer was always the same. Tell Mommy to sing to me again. I reported our conversation to Robin and asked whether the spirit's word had any meaning to her. After a long silence, Robin told me that one of her earliest memories was the comfort of her mother singing to her. She wanted to continue this tradition with her own children and had often practiced singing her mother's lullaby. However, it had been some time since she'd felt like singing. I explained to Robin that the spirits of unconceived children are very sensitive to emotional tensions in their prospective families. They can become withdrawn and need extra reassurance that they are loved. So she started singing the lullaby, and she started feeling a warm glow in her heart that spread down to her uterus. She said, I could really feel the presence of a child. I knew I was pregnant, and the doctor confirmed weeks later that she was pregnant. I thought that chapter was interesting because I had a lullaby I was practicing, but I stopped. And it was, I stopped it like months ago, but I would sing it on and off, practicing for maybe 4 or 5 years. And it was the Good Night, My Angel Lullaby by Billy Joel. I love that song. I love that song. So when I have a child, that's the song I'm going to sing to them. Good Night, My Angel Lullaby by Billy Joel. So yeah, it says, what does a conception contract look like to a clairvoyant? As in the case with most contracts, the terms and stipulations of the conception contract are open to some negotiation. The negotiation is often clairvoyantly evident when one of my clients is trying to conceive a child. In their aura will appear an image of 3 spirits, father, mothers, and spirit baby, all gathered around a triangular gold table. Each holds in their hands a number of images shaped like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, which they are trying to fit together. These images represent the different ideas and expectations that each brings to the contract. When these negotiations are going well, I will often see the face of a newborn appearing on the surface of the table. However, when talks are at an impasse, the image of the table is fragmented like scattered pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. I haven't had that, but what I have had is I see the path, like if I'm thinking about, like, if I have a baby with this person, with this dude, what will happen? And then I do like a scan. I'm not saying I'm trying to tell the future, but I scan the possibilities. So one person, I was like, oh, hell no. And it was mainly because of their mother. I just couldn't deal with the fact of being connected to their mother. I knew I never wanted to leave any type of child with their mother, ever. I didn't want to talk to their mother. I didn't want to have anything to do with her. And I could not imagine spending the rest of my life being connected to that woman. And so that was just a definite no. In my contract, no. I'll look at the family. I will look at the situation. If I have a spirit contract going on, the baby's probably like, I need a safer living environment. I can't be out in the hood, even though it's not really a hood. It's just like, ratchet in some parts. But it doesn't want to be in this type of environment. It doesn't want to be under severe stress. It doesn't want to be in a financial struggle. It doesn't want to be in a body that isn't strong enough to support it and nourish it to its fullest capacity. So that is probably why none has come, because it's only been struggle after struggle after struggle. Some bouts of stability and then struggle again. It doesn't want that. And I wouldn't want that if I were a spirit baby either. Now, mind you, some spirit babies will come down in order to save their parents' life. You ever heard those people say, oh, my baby saved my life? Yeah, that's what they came to do. They came to save your life. They came to help you. They inspired you to become a better person. They inspired you to get off of drugs. They inspired you to go into a new career. I knew a girl in my old neighborhood that was just wild. We actually went to school together too. She was wild. I think she got arrested a few times. And then there was another where she was like running naked, but she was just wild. And then I met her years later. She had 2 kids, and she was the calmest. Like, those children calmed her down. She couldn't do all the stuff that she was doing before. I knew a person who's changed their health after their child was born. They wanted to be here longer to spend with their child. So some of these children come in order to motivate you to change, to give you a new look on the world, to open your heart to love different things. But yeah, this book goes into a lot of detail, and I cannot go through all of it in one video. It's just a lot. It is just so much to read. But I do highly recommend it, especially if you're on a fertility journey and you felt that you've exhausted all of your options. I highly recommend this book. So let's see if there's another chant. I'm going to start off again. I'm going to end with one last meditation, which is the conception chant. The conception cradle is an energy form that radiates unconditional love and acceptance. This chant amplifies the energy of unconditional love and focuses your spirit baby's attention on conception. A good preparation for this chant is the Kundalini meditation at the beginning of this section. So this is in the near the end of the chapter called 8, Conscious Conception. So, step 1. Sit with your back straight and your feet flat on the floor. Step 2. Close your eyes and listen to your breath. Step 3. Focus on the center of your chest. And then chant. Step 4. Chant So, Ah, A, Ah, Su, Ah, O. For as long as you like, try to chant for at least 3 minutes. So Wait, breathing. When you finish, step 5. When you finish chanting, just sit and listen. If you hear a voice echoing the chant back to you, it is a sign that you have connected with your spirit baby. Conception is not far off. This chant is a simple, easy way to participate in the spiritual process of conception. It allows you to consciously offer your spirit baby the energy of unconditional love and acceptance present in the conception cradle. This chant is also very effective when done in an informal way. Try it now while you are mowing the lawn, washing dishes, waiting for a bus, or taking a walk. I don't have a lawn to mow, but I can wash the dishes. It can be done fast or slow, in rhythm with your activities. Whether you chant aloud or internally does not matter. Your spirit baby will hear you. I recommend doing this chant at least once a day while you are trying to get pregnant. You can also do this chant when you are worried, stressed, or undergoing fertility treatments. The energy of this chant will help balance and soothe your energy system. After all, prospective parents need unconditional love and acceptance. That was a good book. That was a good book. If you have been touched by the stories in this book, you have found a place in your heart that resonates with the psychic world of the spirit baby. Within you is the power to connect and communicate with the spirit world, to understand and explore the bond of love and destiny between you and your future child. Always approach yourself with compassion, knowing that while being a great parent may be demanding, the rewards will be great. Trust yourself and know yourself. These are 2 essential qualities for both communicating with your spirit baby and becoming the parent that you are meant to be. So, I hope this video helped someone out there. If you look on YouTube, there's a lot of spirit baby meditations. I don't know if theirs was as lengthy as mine, but I think they're very good videos. I would listen to them at nighttime when you go to sleep, so you can fall asleep to either the mantras or the chants or the meditation. And just start preparing your life as if your baby is coming, The things that you're worried about, you can start fixing them. Like, open your heart and listen with your inner voice to hear the voice of your spirit baby. So talk to you later, everyone. Bye-bye.